Good morning, guys. I'm Jim. I'm here with Elijah Weintraub. It's the Sports with Mono and Mono show. It's April 11th, 2026, and it's Eli. I think spring has finally made its way to New Jersey.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a great day here in New Jersey. I mean, it started off a little cold, but we're gonna get some more. We're gonna get warmer today as the week goes on. We're in the 70s. We even reached 80 at one point this week.
Uh,
It is looking great here in New Jersey. And let's
yeah,
all kick it off and talk about some sports here with the monologue sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summer Hill, New York. And Jim, that is all yours today.
I do have it, and of course, we're going to get into a lot of things. It's Masters. It's
Yes, it
moving
is.
day in Augusta, but we want to start it off with the monologue, of course, and it goes to, and we're going to get into Eli the NCAA championship game and stuff, which was great. But I
We'll
want
talk
to
about
talk
that in a little bit.
about,
Yep.
in particular, one of the guys in the broadcasting crew. With, first and foremost, Iron Eagle, awesome,
Yep. Yep.
solid professional.
Absolutely. Yep.
Grant Hill, former NCAA champ, one of the
Yep.
great players in college basketball history. So he knows the game inside and out. But the guy I wanted to focus on was Bill Raftery. And this should be very special to you and Bobby, of course, because he was the former Seton Hall coach from 1970 to 1981. And, you know, he's 82 years old. So there's been a lot of discussion about whether or not he's going to return for another season. But he is really entertaining and he's very knowledgeable and he's still so, together and sharp. And I hope he stays for another year because I really enjoy
He was
you
great.
know,
Yeah.
his
You love to
sayings
see it, right?
and things like that. And he works great with Grant Hill and Iron
Iron
Eagle. And,
Eagle.
and by the way, Bill Raftery, of course, is a New Jersey guy from Orange, New Jersey. And he played at St. Cecilia High School in Kearney, which no longer exists. But at one point, he was the all time leading basketball scorer in high school for New Jersey. And
Wow.
from everything I know, I had a chance. I told you one time I talked with um, Hubie Brown and Bill Raftery is very close with Hubie and in the same kind of age bracket, but he really is great. I want to give a shout out to him because I really enjoy that camaraderie that he has with Grant Hill and Iron Eagle. And when they call the game, it's so enlightening. I just love it. And but I hope he sticks around for another year. So, Mr. Raftery, big fans of yours from Sports with Mono and Mono.
Absolutely.
All right, Eli, let's talk about the game, right?
All right, let's talk about it.
It was first
We had
and
two great
foremost,
games. We had
yeah,
two great games. Because remember,
of
men's
course.
was, it was exciting, but women's, what a surprise too by UCLA. I
Yeah.
mean, the turnaround too by with South Carolina. But on the men's side too, big win for Michigan. I'll let you go ahead and start it off. The talk.
Well, listen, I think you picked UConn. I had Michigan. But it was surprising because Michigan was at one point 0 for 9 from 3-point land, and they weren't hitting shots that Landisborg and all those guys used to hit, but they still managed. This kid could also, he's a Bergen Catholic guy, by the way. I didn't know if you knew that, Eli.
Okay,
Um,
well, I didn't know that either. Yeah.
Most outstanding player tournament, and Michigan deserved it. They were an absolute great basketball team this season, and got to give credit to Dusty May, who it's the first time that a team has won the national championship with 5 transfer starters. So you
Yeah.
and I've talked about this before about the dynamic and people moving, from school to school, but it was great to see. And congratulations to Michigan.
Yeah. What a win for
They earned
Michigan.
it, and isn't it? Yep.
Yeah. I want we have a couple colors and comments. I want to start off with the comments first. Andrew says, "Good morning, guys. Agree. Bill Raftery is the best man to man." Yeah, you got it there. You said it
Yes.
best. I think we have Mary Ellen call it in first. Mary Ellen, can you hear us? No. Maybe allow all for camera and microphone settings.
Hello.
Anderson calling in. Do have another comment before I get to Bill, who's calling in. Diego says, "Good morning, Diego." And now I'll bring on Bill Hathaway, William Hathaway, who's calling in now. Good morning. How's it going?
Hey, good morning, fellas. How you doing? What's going on, Jim?
What do you say, Will? How are you?
Hey, man, listen, it's portal time in college basketball. Recently, this past week, Najee Hines, TJ Simpkins, Bud Clark, and Godswill, I can't get his last name, but they entered the NCAA portal. That means an alarm is going off on South Orange Avenue. The alarms are going off at 200 South Orange Avenue right now. But we'll see. I mean, what do you guys think about this portal situation in Seton Hall and many other teams in the NCAA, Jim?
Well, Bill,
Jim?
I tell you, Eli and I were just talking about this morning, and of course, the portal opened right after the final championship game, which was great. And I hope you caught the Mono-Logue because I know from Orange, New Jersey, and Bill Raftery and so forth. It changed the whole dynamic of college basketball and college sports in general. But what did you think about the final championship game, Bill? I'm curious.
It wasn't surprising. Michigan, the kid from West Orange, he did well. I can't remember his name, but he did well. Cardia, Cadeau.
Cadeau.
Cadeau, okay. It's not surprising. Michigan is one of the top teams in the NCAA. They knocked off UConn. UConn, we've been the stay-hole in the stronghold in the Big East. It's surprising, but it ain't really surprising the way Michigan was playing during the NCAA tournament, where they were scoring big numbers.
Yeah, I do want to bring up. I want to go back to your Seton Hall thing because I know you were talking about everybody in the portal. I think going forward, obviously, we know Seton Hall has a small budget. They only have $8 million, which nowadays in college basketball, that's not a lot. I think they just need to find a guy where he could shoot the ball, and he's going to be a consistent player that is going to want to stay at Seton Hall, because we haven't been able to find a consistent player that's going to stay year after year. I know it's tough with the money in the portal, but we need somebody that's consistent to try to build up some type of legacy at Seton Hall, because every year it's a whole new roster, a whole new team.
Yeah, Coach Shaheen Holloway has just got the Coach of the Year in South Orange. He's trying his best to keep his players on board. Nelson Hernandez, they recently hired as the big GM, as they call it, on South Orange. But we'll see. We'll have to see. We cannot speculate. It's all speculation. When the NCAA portal, it doesn't mean that they're leaving the university. It just means they have options of going someplace else where they can finish their career and or go to the G League or whatever the case may be, regardless with the status of if they're a sophomore, senior, junior. But it's a wait and see game in the NCAA. You can't.
Well, Bill,
you can't.
Bill, I'll tell you. I mean, this is exactly to your point. It's the whole dynamic and the portal. It just changed everything. But that means the college basketball programs have to change with it. And yes, Seton Hall's a small school and so forth. But you know what? It's they let it get out of control to the point with. It started out as nil, where these kids should have gotten paid for their likeness in video games, and now it's become a pay-for-play type of program. But, Bill, thanks for checking in, and I hope you appreciate the Bill Raff segment, because
Bill Raftery is a long-time Orange guy. He commentated the I think it was the national championship or the national semifinal round. They did a great job, TNT and TBS, and we'll see.
They did.
No Pokemon cards right now for the off season.
No.
All right.
dismantled for the rest of the year, man.
All right, you guys have.
We'll just have to see where these Big East teams, other than Seton Hall, St. John's, Connecticut, Creighton, Providence. We'll have to see more. I'll keep you guys and your viewers updated throughout the appointment process.
Thank you, Bill.
Appreciate it, Bill.
All right, take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
See you guys. And hopefully, Eli, we had some technical issues with Mary Ellen calling in. I hope she can try again.
She'll be watching. She's just watching.
Yep. But I knew that Bill was going to be calling in when I mentioned Raftery because he is from Orange and Bill is Mr. Orange, right?
Mr. Orange. Yep. There's one other note from college basketball before we move off. North Carolina is set to hire NBA coach Michael Malone as their next head coach.
I'm glad you brought that up, my friend, because that was my next point I was going to bring up. And this was, to be quite honest, shocking to me that, he doesn't have any ties, really doesn't have a resume from a college basketball perspective. And like we talked about, the portal is part of coaching now. And, yes, he does have a WNBA, an NBA championship, but that was very, very surprising to me. But I think what North Carolina's initial thought was they were going to try to get Tommy Lloyd or, whether it would be Dan Hurley or whatever. They were going to try to get that marquee guy, but they had to settle on Michael Malone, which I don't understand. And if he gets off to a bad start next year, it's very similar to the whole Bill Belichick in North Carolina. So who's calling the shots at North Carolina?
Absolutely.
I think they missed the boat.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's now go ahead and talk about Georgia and the Masters. As the Masters is underway, we have 2 more days there in Augusta on CBS and Paramount Plus for the next 2 days. Jim, I know you've been watching it from par 3 and when it started on Wednesday, so I'll let you take over. Tell me what your thoughts about everything is.
I appreciate that. And yes, you know how very, very special the Masters is to me and my brothers and my sister. We just love it. And it's the start really of the PGA season. And, right now, I gave some picks last week. I had Scotty Scheffler, who's kind of fallen off the lead a little bit. And I had Ludwig Oberg, Victor Hovland, and Xander Schauffele. So they all made the cut. But right now, the focus cannot be on anybody else but Rory McIlroy. And to be quite honest, I didn't see this coming. He's got this is in the history of the Masters, a 6-shot lead after the first 36 holes has never been done before. And this guy looks like he wants another green jacket. So,
has there ever been a back-to-back champion in the Masters? Do you know?
What's that?
Has there ever been a back-to-back champion?
Oh, I got to say maybe Nicholas did it. I don't know. Somebody's done it.
I'm going to have to Google it now. I thought you would know. That's all I'm curious.
Yeah, I should have known, but you caught me off guard there. All right. 2 back-to-back Masters winners. Who do we got?
Let's see. Yes, the Masters has had back-to-back winners, but it's extremely rare. Jack Nicklaus, 1965, 1966. Nick Faldo, 1989, 1990. And Tiger Woods, 2001, 2002.
Yeah, I think we should have all gotten that. I knew
Tiger Woods one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I knew Nicklaus, but it really is and the weather at Augusta, you want to talk about spring in New Jersey. They got spring at Augusta National, and it's just one of the great sporting events. And, we got 2 days. So, Eli, straighten us out about who's broadcasting, what's streaming, what's on radio.
So now for the final 2 days, because now we're in Saturday and Sunday, it's on CBS and Paramount Plus. So as always, the first 2 hours from 12 to 2, that's on Paramount Plus, which is the streaming service. But from the rest of the tournament on, from 2 to 7 o'clock or whatever on, that's on CBS, Channel 2 here in New York, New Jersey. So we'll get Jim Nance calling it once again.
Yeah, he's been doing it for how many years now?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. It's great.
It's been awesome. Before we move off the Masters talk, we're going to play a little game with me and you, Jim. So we talked last week on the show about the prices and how cheap they are for the food at the Masters. So now the internet challenge is, what would you do with a $10 menu at the Masters? So we're going to bring this up right now. We have a little sample of what the Masters posted on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll read it to you, Jim, in case you can't read it. Don't worry about it. So
I could
if
say
you
it.
have $10 budget, what would you buy? The first row, by the way, is barbecue pork, chicken salad, pimento cheese, and egg salad. The next row is Georgia peach ice cream sandwich, Georgia pecan caramel popcorn, cookies and chips. And the last row, Crow's Nest beer, iced tea, soft drinks, and water. So, Jim, with $10, what would you buy on your Masters menu?
All right. Well, first and foremost, of course, $6. I gotta have a beer if I'm at the
You
Masters.
gotta have the
so
beer,
that's
okay?
$6.
So now
And
you have $4 left.
I guess I'd go for the chicken salad sandwich as my entree, and of course some cookies. So that's
Well, you
$2.
can't get nothing else. That's it. You already spent $9.
Right. So I'm already out. I have to take an extra dollar, but that's where I would go.
See, for me, I would try the ice cream sandwich. Because I'm a big ice cream guy. I have to try the ice cream sandwich. Can't go wrong with some cookies and chips and a bottle of water. $8.50. Still got $1.50 to go eat afterwards. Perfect Masters menu. Let us know in the comments. What's your Masters order menu? Take a look and join the fun.
No, but how great is it though that you can actually eat and not spend $10 for a bottle of water like you do in an NBA basketball game,
or
right?
anywhere.
Yeah,
man, that's awesome. By the way, Guy Coriano says, "Good morning, Guy. Thanks for tuning in."
There he is, and Guy just became a grandfather, so congratulations!
Congratulations!
To him.
Yes, congratulations. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and talk some Major League Baseball before we go into some other topics of the day.
Take us away, Eli.
Well, in Major League Baseball, it's baseball season. It's the Yankees. They're in the first place of the American League, 8-5. They've been having a little slump, especially this week with the Athletics. I don't think many people saw them going 1-2 this week, but yet here they are. They got the Tampa stretch this weekend. The Dodgers, of course, first place in the National League, 10-3. But I think the big storyline from the week was a huge fight that broke out between the Braves and the Angels this week. I know you probably seen the viral clips and everything.
Soler and something else.
But it was a pretty big fight, and baseball is heating up.
Well, listen, apparently there's a history between those two guys. So, we're right in the start of the season. We're what, 13, 14 games in, and you look at the Yankees, and listen, I'll talk about this right now. We know they have a great starting pitching lineup, right? However, we talked about it before the season started. And I know Frankie's sitting there and he agrees with me 100% that the bottom four of the Yankees lineup are non-existent. And they're not going to be able to sustain and run away with that division with guys hitting 220 at the bottom of the lineup. And I don't know what changes they need to make, but right now it's not working. Do you bring up these guys like Dominguez and Spencer Jones and give them a shot because these other guys aren't getting it done? And
I mean, at this point, you have to, because you cannot just rely on regular season Aaron Judge to try to save this team in terms of hitting and trying to get the runs in and stuff. You got to start bringing guys up. And I think Brandon is calling in now. He's going to have some stuff to say. Good morning. How's it going?
Good morning.
Morning, Brandon. Everybody. Hi, bud.
I just wanted to jump the gun and say that I think the biggest storyline so far of the MLB season is the Boston Red Sox.
Why do you say that?
Well, I think that I don't know if they're underachieving or if the roster construction is just not where it should be. But I know they made some publicity this week. Barstool Sports with Sell the Team to John Henry, the owner, who seemingly cares more about Liverpool Football Club than he does the Boston Red Sox. As a diehard Boston Red Sox fan, I'm grateful for 4 World Series titles that they won under John Henry's leadership. However, I have to say that getting rid of the star players that they've had over the last 20 some odd years leaves a bad taste in your mouth as a fan. And I think that you're asking Roman Anthony to do quite a bit as a 21-year-old kid. And that is not a recipe for winning baseball games. I think they got nothing for Rafael Devers when they traded him. They got nothing for Alex Bregman when they signed him and let him go. And the team is just seemingly in disarray. I lost another one last night. So,
Well, listen, I foremost, I wasn't aware you were a diehard Boston Red Sox fan, but I did mention the Red Sox before the season started, and on paper to me it looked good. And yeah, this kid Roman Anthony is going to be the real deal. But I do have a conversation every day I sit right next to a diehard Boston Red Sox fan, and yeah, he's a little like you, going, was this the lineup? And I actually thought the Red Sox would contend with the Yankees, and it's obviously
me
early
too.
in the season, but they do have Crochet, one of the best pitchers in the game, and off to a slow start. But we've seen this before, Brendan. Yeah, there's only 145 games or 50 games left, so
Yeah.
hang in there,
That
my
is
friend.
true. That is true. But of all the teams that are in MLB history that have started 2-8, very few have made the postseason. For those of you who are into advanced statistics and history of the game, I don't know what the percentage is, but I did read it, and it was alarming that when you start off 2-8, you can't win the World Series in April, but you can lose a pennant in April, and here we are.
Well said. Well said.
So,
Absolutely.
all right, I'll sit back and enjoy the show. Thank you for having me on. I want
All
Mary
right,
Ellen on.
Brendan.
She's my favorite Monahan. Come on.
I know, I know. I just texted her trying to get her back on. So she loves you too, my friend.
Okay, take
All
care.
right. Thank you.
We'll see you guys. All right, Eli. So let's, with Major League Baseball going on right now, and you look at the Mets, the same thing. We talked about this, that they kind of really turned over their whole lineup, got rid of McNeil and those longtime Mets, and they brought these other guys in, and we all know that the Mets go as Francisco Lindor goes, and right now he's not going anywhere. It doesn't seem like his head in the game. He's making base running mistakes. He's making fielding mistakes. So the Mets, I think, are going to be in for a long haul to try to keep pace with the Phillies and possibly even the Braves in the National League East.
All right. Yeah. I mean, the Mets. They're at 7-7 right now. I mean, they're not in the best position, but it means still early. There's still tons of baseball left to play. Anything's possible. Mary Ellen was chatting in the comments. She said, "Thanks, Brendan and Jim, for the shout out. But still just listening."
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So but before we move off this, because my sister is also a horse racing fan, and I was going to bring this up later, but we've having the pre-Derby races, the Arkansas and the Louisiana, Santa Anita, the Woodlawn, all those races. So we're getting awfully close to Kentucky Derby Day in the first week in May. So I know my sister's excited about that.
Yeah, this is exciting. We're almost out of Kentucky Derby season.
Yep.
I cannot wait. This is exciting.
It is.
Well,
all right, Eli, take us forward here. Where are we going?
Well, we are going to go to the National Hockey League, where we have some exciting news and some exciting stuff, and not so exciting stuff. But we'll talk about that in a second. We'll start off with the playoffs first in the NHL. The Utah Mammoth have made the playoffs. First year, they're in. Congrats to them. They're under the Utah Mammoth franchise. I mean, of course, they were known as Utah Hockey Club, but Mammoth, under that name, they're officially into the playoffs. Other notes that I want to bring up at the NHL: who's in, who's out. You have the Hurricanes, the Sabres, the Canadiens, the Lightning, and the Penguins. They're in the Eastern Conference. The Colorado Avalanche are in the playoffs, and they've also won the President's Trophy. So you know what that means in my book. If you win the President's Trophy, you ain't going to win it. So I'm just going to rule out Colorado Avalanche is not going to win the Stanley Cup. I know they've won it before the Presidents and won a Stanley Cup, but to me, I still believe in curses. The curse has been on for a while. Avalanche will not win the Stanley Cup. The Stars, Wild, and Mammoth also are in the playoffs.
I'm going to go
out already. Go ahead.
I'm going to go so far as to say I think your theory is proven right over the course of time. But I think this is different. I think the Avalanche are the best team, and they could win the Stanley Cup.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I think they are a good team, but I believe my curses. That's a curse right there in the NHL. Of course, the Devils, the Panthers, the Leafs, the Rangers, the Flames, Blackhawks, and Canucks have all faced elimination, so they're not in the playoffs. Some big coaching news and other stuff happening around the league. Tom Fitzgerald from the New Jersey Devils, the GM, has been fired this week. And all I got to say is hallelujah, because let me tell you, I mean, I was not a fan of him from the start. It's either we have a winning season, but we don't go far in the playoffs, or we're just an awful team. This year was another example of awful. I think we're going to keep Sheldon Keefe for another year as head coach because again, let's see how the new GM is going to take over this team. But next year, we need to make some good choices. We need to just reorganize this team. And we just knew that Fitzgerald was gone after this year. I mean, you couldn't get Quinn Hughes, which was one of the bigger names out there in the market this year. And look at him and his Minnesota Wild team. They're in the playoffs right now. So that goes to show you, what if we had Quinn Hughes? What if we made it? What if we had a shot at it? Because, Jack Hughes is always hurt every year. He's never consistent, and Luke is Luke. It's just disappointing that we missed off on a guy like Quinn Hughes, for example, and some of these organizational moves. So I'm very happy that he's gone. And speaking of Luke Hughes, he's been benched for the rest of the season because he is going to undergo surgery. The NHL season does wind down this week. A couple other notes I want to bring up real quick in the NHL. The Islanders have fired head coach Patrick Roy. Peter DeBoer has been named head coach. And Ron Francis is stepping down as president of hockey operations for the Seattle Kraken.
You know what? I saw that too, Ron Francis, and it's just when I look at the National Hockey League, and obviously the story is whether Alex Ovechkin will retire after this year, which I think he will. But I'm looking back, and I remember when Ron Francis came up. He's probably certainly in the top 10 all time in scoring points, and and Sidney Crosby. It's just so hard to believe. I remember him coming up, Sid the Kid, and now he's 20 plus years in the NHL. And this could be his last hurrah as well. I think the Penguins are making the playoffs, right?
Yes. Yes.
So a good shot. I wouldn't mind if Sidney Crosby won a Stanley Cup because the guy's won at every single level that he's played at.
Yep. Yeah, because like I said, the Penguins, the Lightning, Canadian Sabres, Hurricanes, they're all in. Penguins definitely looking really good this year. The Capitals, we were just talking about him and Alex Ovechkin. They're likely out of the playoffs. They're at 89 points. They're not going to likely make it again. There's only 2 spots left in the Eastern Conference with the season winding down. So we know Washington's likely going to be eliminated next.
Right.
Do I think Alex Ovechkin retires? I don't think so. I think he hangs around for another year, or at least half a year, I think. I don't think he's gone just yet. I think he still wants another shot at making it to the playoffs.
Well, look, when we look at the playoff picture right now, I know everyone's waiting for the Buffalo Sabres bubble to burst, but they've been consistent all year long after a slow start, and they haven't been relevant in a long time, just like the Montreal Canadiens. That's one of the most storied franchises in the history of the NHL, and they haven't been relevant for 15 years. So It's great to see those teams back in the mix, and guys like Crosby in the twilight of their career. It's really exciting. And, I talked to my neighbor, Jack Fitzpatrick, who's, he even made a statement. He goes, I don't really watch the NHL during the regular season, but the NHL playoffs are the real deal. And he's absolutely right. It really is. It's just so great.
And we're winding down with the season. Not over just yet. There's still some time left in the NHL.
Yep.
Let's go to the NBA real quick before some random points. In the NBA, mostly every team is in, but the Eastern Conference is a little shaky right now in terms of who's going to be in the play-in tournament and who's in for the actual spot in the playoffs. So right now in the Eastern Conference, the Pistons, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Cavaliers, and Hawks, they're all in the playoffs guaranteed. However, the Toronto Raptors sit at 6th place at 45-36. Orlando Magic right behind them, same record at 7th place. One win from one of those two teams, they clinch a playoff spot. The other will join in the bubble play-in tournament, as you could say. The 76ers will also likely get a play-in spot, but again, they're also in the running for a potential 6th seed spot. The West is kind of all set. The Thunder, the Spurs, the Nuggets, Lakers, Rockets, Timberwolves, they're all in the playoffs guaranteed. The Suns, Trailblazers, Clippers, and the Warriors are your play-in teams. So that's just that and how that goes there.
Okay. Well, let me kind of sum up what what the NBA is like. And yeah, the season's coming to an end. And in the Eastern Conference, I'm going to say this right now. I think the Knicks do have a legitimate shot at making the finals because, the Pistons, the Cavaliers, and obviously the Celtics. But the Knicks haven't proven that they could beat these top flight teams. Yes, they beat the Celtics the other night in Madison Square Garden, but that was without Jaylen Brown. But that's an easier path in the Eastern Conference. That's wide open, and I think the Knicks could possibly actually make the finals. But when you get to the West, even if they do make the finals, they're not going to be able to keep up with OKC or Denver or San Antonio.
Absolutely. But we got to keep in mind one thing, Jim. Remember back in December? What do we have in December? The NBA in-season tournament, and the Knicks won that NBA Cup. And you know what that means? We've seen it the past couple of years. When you win the in-season tournament NBA Cup, we have not yet seen them win a national championship. So I don't think we'll see
sure do. You sure do believe in curses.
I believe in curses, and I keep my receipts. That's for sure.
Okay, good.
Just to give some reference to everybody else in the NBA, the NBA regular season concludes tomorrow, and Tuesday starts the NBA play-in tournament on Prime Video. So that's just some other information we will mention.
Got it.
All right, time for some random points.
Well, Eli, let's just for 1 second, a couple of notes from the NFL, and it's kind of we're getting. So next week we're going to do a little bit of our draft preview and so forth, right? So, but some news in the NFL. Dexter Lawrence, quote unquote, wants a trade now. So again, this is these guys that are under contract come in and say, I want to trade or I want to renegotiate. Drives me crazy. And the other thing is this whole situation with the Raiders and Tom Brady. He's like a minority. When I say minority owner, he doesn't own a big piece of it, but they seem to have entrusted him. And we can talk all we want about conflict of interest. And, maybe this is an opportunity for him to find a way out of his contract with Fox because, it's so demanding calling games. I don't know if he enjoys it. I think he's pretty good at it. But make no mistake about it. He is running the Las Vegas Raiders without question.
It's no question about it. Of course, he's going to continue to still. I think he still stays at Fox too. Inside scoop.
Okay, I like him.
You see these teams. I mean, I like them too, but that's just how I look at it. The other note from the NFL, I guess we could bring up, Fernando Mendoza has announced that he will not be attending the NFL draft in Pittsburgh. He will remain in Miami with his family. There's a couple things I want to say about this. First off, be in Pittsburgh. Be in the moment. Shake the commissioner's hand. Accept your hat. I understand you want to accept it with your family, but I feel you're about to get a huge contract with the Raiders. You're the new staple of the NFL entering in, and you rather be on a couch at home? I'm sorry. I just think that you got to be in person. And considering how much they hype up this NFL draft, they hype it up so much like there's no tomorrow. If this is the hype where we're going to say, okay, I'm going to sit on the couch and stuff, then move it to a little theater in New York City, like Radio City, and not make this global outdoor event where you have 10,000 people lining up, the media lined up all around. I mean, because this is the case where it's like everything's all virtual, nothing's in person. Like to me, this is like annoying.
Well, I'm going to say this. I mean, this kid is who he is, and he's put up. He's a wonderful kid. He's a family guy.
No question. I get that. No problem.
I don't have any problem with it because he's not going to change who he is to accommodate the NFL. And I think it's a personal decision. I can understand it. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion. He will be the number one pick, but I don't have a problem with it. I
kind of do. I think just because the way the NFL has spent money on this event and the way that they hype it up like there's no tomorrow, and then just to say that you're going to be the new face of the league and you're on the on a couch, instead of in person shaking the commissioner's hand. That's just how I feel about it.
Got it.
All right, let's go to some random points. Sponsored by Lynch Toyota, Manchester, Connecticut. I'll kick it off, I guess.
Take us away, Eli.
All right, sounds good. Tonight is the men's hockey Frozen Four national championship game at 5:30 on ESPN. It's Wisconsin taking on Denver. I know you're shaking your head, so I want to let you say some things before I move on. So go ahead.
I do, because I that's actually one of my random points of interest, and I know it's of particular interest to one of our loyal listeners, Jim Walsh. This is awesome. I mean, what a game the other night with Wisconsin and Michigan, who was the #1 seed, and Denver is going for their University of Denver has more NCAA titles than anybody, which could be a little surprising for some people, but it's great hockey. It's exciting, and you're right. I'm glad that you brought that up because that is tonight at 5:30. So check it out. These are the future NHL players. So it really is exciting. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Brandon comments, happy that Fernando Mendoza is skipping the draft. I agree with Jim.
Okay. Thanks, pal.
Well, we are less than 100 days away from the start of the FIFA World Cup, but our area is now bracing for impact. Hotels and Airbnbs are expected to rise significantly during this tournament. And now, NJ Transit says parts of New York Penn Station will close. According to NorthJersey.com, who was the first to report this, Penn Station will open to only World Cup ticket holders, offering shuttles to Secaucus, where then they will connect to another train to MetLife Stadium. Penn Station is set to close for 4 hours on match days, with only Amtrak and LIRR trains operating, probably from Monahan, the other side of the Penn Station, in addition to the game day shuttle. There will be no NJ Transit train service operating other than the shuttle to Secaucus, forcing riders to take either the bus, ferry, or path, according to this report. And it's going to be a mess. Brace for impact. And keep in mind, too, MetLife is hosting 8 matches, including the championship game. And most of these games are on a weekday in the heat of rush hour at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 8 o'clock. Brace for impact.
Well, just think about how much money having the World Cup in the tri-state area is going to bring.
Just think of the mess. Who cares about, again, what about if you worked in the city, Jim? How would you, and you took the train every day, how would you feel knowing that you can't go into work because some fan that's paying is going to go to see a World Cup for not even 90 minutes? I
don't dismiss that at all, but that's the price you got to pay if you want to host it in big event.
That's fine. That's good. That's great for the government people and everything and for the fans. But again, what about those people that work hard for the money in New York City, that do things like, I mean, think about it. It's scary. Like,
Eli, it's just another, we as fans don't matter. The inconvenience that they put upon us does not matter because we talked about it 100 times. It's all about the Benjamins. It'll be a great event. But
that's right. But if you look at a typical MetLife train service, though, I'm going to just say this one other point. On a typical New York Giants Jets game, besides the New York route from Secaucus to MetLife, they don't check the ticket. So how are they going to enforce the tickets and that they're actually buying a ticket? We get it from the Penn Station part. You have to check the ticket there, but from the Secaucus to MetLife part, they don't check the tickets. How do you control that? How are you making the money then?
You're absolutely right. It's going to be an inconvenience for everybody. No doubt.
Absolutely. Anyways, the WNBA draft is this Monday at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Projected to go at #1 is Olivia Miles from TCU. The Dallas Wings do have the #1 pick in the draft. Angel Reese was traded this week to the Atlanta Dream in exchange for draft picks. Rich Eisen will be back to host Midnight Sports Center from Bristol on Sunday, April 12th. So be sure to check that out as he returns to the Sports Center anchor desk. A couple other notes. A longtime ESPN play-by-play broadcaster Mark Jones will be calling his final game with the network this Sunday with Magic and Celtics. Mark felt it was time, and he's been with ESPN since 1990.
I like him. He's always been a solid pro, no doubt.
Phenomenal. Absolutely.
Yep.
A couple other notes. ABC7's New York's Lee Goldberg, of course, the meteorologist, he's been named senior meteorologist for ABC News. So he's the head kind of now for ABC, not just in New York. So congrats to him. CBS has announced that Brian Allen's Comics Unleashed will take over Stephen Colbert's The Late Show spot once his show comes to conclusion in May. Last night, off the coast of San Diego, Artemis II splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. Following splashdown, the crew board of the USS John P. Murtha as they returned to Earth after a 10-day mission around the moon. Welcome home. And I think the funniest part of the mission was the Nutella flying in space in the greatest commercial in the history of the world.
You know what?
Universe, I should say.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was riveted. I was watching this. It was so exciting. It was so amazing. Like what
it was
went
awesome.
on. Oh,
and also shout out to Nutella getting that fantastic ad. Can you believe that ad? I mean, that was awesome. And it wasn't meant to happen.
I think I think they'll give the free lifetime supply of Nutella.
I think that's a great idea. The last note before I get to some comments: SNL is all new tonight with host Carmen Domingo and musical guest Anita. And here is the comment I want to bring up first real quick. Bill says, New Jersey Transit can't handle this event. In New Jersey, Transit can even handle the regular season, and they had a Super Bowl. Let's see what happens.
We know
it's a conversation.
It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Be a nightmare.
All right, Jim, all yours.
Okay, I got it here. And when we were talking about the NCAA championship, I think one thing that was kind of went under the radar, they didn't give it a lot of press, but they did honor the 76 Indiana Hoosiers team. And I remember that season, me and my little brother watched almost every single game, and they were undefeated, the last undefeated team. And to look at 50 years later, it was just amazing. What a memorable season. And one of our loyal listeners, Tom Pugh, an Indiana grad, by the way, of course, and Derek Krug, one of our loyal listeners. Tom made an interesting point to me. He goes, as good as the 76 team was, he thought they had a better team in 75, which they didn't win the national championship. So that's an amazing fact to me, but it was great to see those guys. I remember them, each and every one of them. Bobby Knight, it was just a memorable season and hasn't been duplicated since. Great. A couple other things. Jim McGovern, who, funny, I actually played against Jim and his brothers. They were Bergen Catholic guys. I was St. Joe's guys, but Jim was a PGA Tour player. He's the head pro at White Beaches Country Club in New Jersey, and he's just been inducted into the New Jersey Golf Hall of Fame, long overdue. And one of he's one of the he is, in fact, the only club pro in New Jersey that's ever won a PGA Tour tournament. So congratulations to him. I remember he won the Houston Open many, many years ago.
Wow.
So like I said, Eli, just because I went to St. Joe's, I gave 2 credits today.
Of course. Yes, that's right. That's right. We're keeping notes. Don't worry. We're keeping the receipts.
I gave Cadeau and Jim McGovern, Bergen Catholic guys, their props. And I got one other note I wanted to bring up, and this is in regards to my grandson, Logan, who, by the way, so he made the team, his middle school team, which is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So he's one of the younger kids on the team, and he was just named starting catcher. So, this kid is really, he's a wonderful kid, wonderful athlete, and I can't wait to see him play. He's playing for the Black River Pool, and congratulations, Logan. You're doing great, my friend. I love you.
That's awesome. Congrats.
It is.
Last comment.
And Eli, just one other quick note I wanted to bring up was Flag, right? He had 2 games where he scored 52, 51, and 45 points. So we talked about this kid. He's still only 19 years old, but what a future he has in the NBA.
Wow. The last comment, we have a comment coming up. Eric, good morning to all. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday to you, Eric.
Yep. And one other quick note. Thanks, Eric. Max Plunt wins the Hobie Baker, which is the college hockey player of the year for Minnesota, Duluth. And I know Jim Walsh was paying attention because there's a lot of Hobie Baker award winners in the National Hockey League. So Congratulations to him.
All right. All right. Well, now it's time for What's Your Recommendation in the photo segment. That's sponsored by Vital Selections. You can scan the QR code to learn more.
Go ahead. What's your recommendation, Eli?
All right. So mine, it's going to be.
Got one.
Hi. Okay, I'll go first. All right. So High School Musical on Disney Plus. I've been listening to the soundtrack recently, and yeah, High School Musical on Disney Plus. It was a Disney Channel hit back in the day. It's now on Disney Plus. So High School Musical.
Well, it's kind of funny because mine is somewhat musical as well. I watched a great special on Netflix called Under the Influence, and it's about Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones. And you know, whether you're a Rolling Stones fan or not, you can't deny that this guy is, was been a force with Mick Jagger in music for 50 years. But the story is so interesting about how, the Rolling Stones used to listen to the blues and things like that, Muddy Waters, and just a great story. And then, he fell in love with country music, and then he fell in love with reggae. And all of that comes into the history of the Rolling Stones. It's just a great documentary. I hope you can check it out. It's on Netflix. It's awesome. Really is.
All right. I'll be sure to check it out. Here are some photos first.
All right. This is interesting. And that's the Easter bunny cake that my daughter Danielle and Nicole made every year for the past 30 some odd years. And it looks complicated, but look how cool that is. And
it looks complicated, but really good. I thought that was actually, believe it or not, I didn't think that was a cake. I thought that was like one of those Easter baskets, the little
no, that's actually
things that they put in. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So you take
I didn't know that.
Right, you take the circles. You have two of them, and then you cut one of them in the shape of ears, and then the bow tie is what's left.
How do you like that?
Isn't that great?
Good job by them. How do you like that? I'm impressed. Yeah. Next one.
Those are my three grandkids getting ready for their Easter egg hunt. Obviously, that's Logan, Hayden, and Hudson, and just spending time with them was so awesome on Easter Sunday. It was great.
That's awesome.
And that's me with, of course, Hayden with her new glasses. Look at those purple glasses. She's adorable. Isn't that great?
Wow.
And this, I have my sister to blame for this because that is a picture of me and my siblings, all of us standing together. And, I was kind of laughing. I say, how could my mother have dressed me and my little brother Steven like that? I look like Spanky from the Little Rascals.
And in case you weren't, just
that
for
picture,
audience at home, which one's you for audience at home? Just
okay. Well, I would love for people to try to guess, but yeah, if you couldn't, I am in that picture. I'm all the way to the left, and I don't know how but that picture, Eli, was Easter Sunday, probably when I was 5 years old, maybe 6.
All right. Yeah, I tried guessing behind the scenes when I first saw the photo.
Yeah.
Not even close. So by the way, he was all the way at the left in the little tiny shorts, the little one on the left. Yeah, but I couldn't get it. No.
Great picture.
Mary Ellen, she commented privately with us. She said that was the dress code of the time.
It was.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. We do have some notable passings to report, and Jim, you've got it all for us this week.
I do. I have some notable passings, and one of them is Charles Norman Shea. And you know how we always love to acknowledge our servicemen and women. He was the last surviving medic at Omaha Beach, and he was 101 years old. So that is, that's a big loss for us. And, what he did and the service that he provided at Omaha Beach is certainly worth mentioning. So RIP to one of our, just great servicemen. Just amazing.
Wow.
Couple from the world of sports, Eli. Tom Nieto actually won a World Series, a catcher. I remember more with the Cardinals, but I think he played with the Mets as well. He was 65 years old, but like I said, won a World Series with the Twins in 1987. And this one, I think I mentioned in recommendations not too long ago. There's a documentary called An Uncivil War, and it's about the Dodgers and Yankees in the 77 and 78 season. And Davey Lopes was a fixture for the Dodgers during that era. With, you go around it, it was Garvey at first, Lopes at second, Russell at third, and Russell at short, and Say at third. So one of the great teams. But the Yankees beat them both in 77 and 78. But Davey Lopes, great base stealer, managed the Brewers for a couple of years. He was 80 years old, but very solid Major League Baseball player.
Wow.
And this one came out yesterday, and I actually had an opportunity to meet him. This was Brownie Nagel, who was a highly touted quarterback from Louisville, and he went to the Jets, and it started off pretty good, and it didn't really work out. But I had an opportunity to meet him at the NFL Cadillac Golf Classic, when they used to play it at Upper Montclair, and I had an opportunity to meet him. He was a nice guy, but he passed away at age 57 from after a long battle with cancer. But didn't work out. But he actually is a Louisville legend. Had a great college career. I want to mention
that. Brandon had a comment he wanted to bring up. He said, a special shout out to Jim's nephew, Brandon, who is 41 today, my brother from another mother.
That is my nephew. I can't believe he's 41 years old. Brendan, happy birthday, my nephew.
Happy birthday.
I love you. 41, I believe.
Wow. Well, we had a really great show today. We thank you to everybody who called in, who commented,
Yes.
and for just tuning in. We really appreciate it, and we'll be back next week at 10 o'clock for more sports with Mono and Mono.
Yep. And of course, we love to hear from you. So send us an email at sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com. And again, thanks to everybody. I hope you all had a great Easter. Enjoy the Masters, because it's a wonderful sport to watch. And I know some people don't get it, but it's awesome. So it is Masters weekend, and shout out to everybody, all my golf fans and loyal listeners. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks, Eli. We'll catch up.